Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this important webinar. I am Dr. Laura Hargrove, the Director of Faith Outreach for the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, and it is both a privilege and an honor to welcome you to our session today. The session is focused on state resources that are available for federal workers who have recently lost their jobs. And as we gather, it's certainly important to acknowledge the challenges and the uncertainties that many of you are facing during this transitional period, that many of your congregants are facing your faith communities and those that depend on faith communities to uplift and uphold them. It's in these times that we also recognize that losing a job not only creates financial strain, but also emotional and psychological stress. It's in these times that it is crucial to remember that we are not alone, that you are not alone. Our community here is willing and ready and able to support you. We know that you are here to support each other, and it's our hope that these resources that we discussed today can help alleviate some of the burdens that your communities are facing. So throughout the webinar, we'll be exploring a variety of state resources available, especially to those who have served in federal positions. These resources can include various things from unemployment benefits, job retraining, mental health services, and the like, just navigating this complicated landscape across what many people are fearing and feeling as we move through this place that we find ourselves in our nation. So I encourage each of you to soak in the information that is going to be shared, to think of this not only as a learning opportunity for yourselves, but an opportunity to gather resources for your faith communities and those that lean on you in the greater community, so that we can together foster a network of support that builds resistance and hope. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge the presence of Reverend Larry Walker, Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, as this webinar is being hosted by our illustrious Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, the Faith Outreach Office. I also want to make you aware that on our call today, participating is the Governor's Interfaith Council, for which the Lieutenant Governor is the chair. The Governor's Interfaith Council serves as a major resource for this administration, for the governor and lieutenant governor, as an advisory council for many things that are faith related and those things that are not, that affect communities all across our state. So with that being said, it is now my pleasure to introduce to you our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller. Lieutenant Governor, take it away. If you'll give us just a moment, we're going to get the technical issue fixed. Thank you for your patience.
All right. Thank you all so very much. Dr. Hargrove, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. I apologize to everyone about the technical difficulties we're having. But Reverend Dr. Laura Hargrove, thank you for your soulful and steady way that you lead as Maryland's Faith Outreach Director. For those of you that may not know Dr. Hargrove, let me just say Dr. Hargrove is someone that the governor, I, and people of all faiths in Maryland turn to for wisdom, strength, and unity. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
I have the honor of serving, as Dr. Hargrove said, as chair of the Governor's Council of Interfaith Outreach, better known as the Interfaith Council. Now, believe it or not, it's the first of its kind in the state of Maryland, bringing together faith leaders from across religions and across the state to bridge divides, fostering understanding and to better serve every community across the great state of Maryland. Governor Moore and I deeply believe in the power of faith, not just as a personal force, but as a force of public good that strengthens our communities and brings people together in times of need and in times of hope. So on behalf of Governor Moore, the entire Interfaith Council, and the Moore-Miller administration, as well as myself, thank you to each and every one of you for joining us today. And most importantly, for the vital roles you play in the spiritual, emotional, and everyday well-being of our communities. There's no doubt that in times of crises, whether deeply personal or profoundly national, people don't just look around, they look up. And more often than not, it's the faith community that they turn to first. And it's our faith leaders like you who look around, see the need, and ask, how can I help? Then show up with compassion and resolve. So again, to each and every one of you, thank you for your extraordinary leadership and compassion that you provide not only to your individual faith communities, but to all people across the state of Maryland. Now, right now, Maryland families are facing deep uncertainty as federal job losses ripple through our state, unlawful deportations tear families apart, and seismic cuts that threaten the essential services that so many Maryland families rely on just to survive. And we know when it comes to these job losses, it's not just affecting paychecks, they affect housing, mental health, food security, and a family sense of dignity and stability. The Moore-Miller administration is mobilizing every available resource, state assistance program, workforce retraining, mental health support, and so much more. The governor and I have been working together closely with our agencies to host job fairs, and we had several of them already in Prince George's County, Baltimore City, Montgomery County, and throughout the rest of our state. We're partnering with both private and public sector groups to find ways to help, and we're turning to our faith leaders like you to help. And we need your help to make sure our neighbors know where to turn. Members of the Moore-Miller administration will be sharing vital links to resources, and we're asking that each of you share this information in bulletins, newsletters, at services, and during pastoral care. We're also here to listen. We want to learn from your experience. What are you hearing in your communities? What barriers do families face in accessing help? And how can the state be a better partner to you in this work? Let's use this time together to strengthen the bridge between government and the communities that you so faithfully serve, because that's how we build resilience, not just in policy, but in people. And before I turn it over to our team, I want to give a great big shout out to someone who's been a driving force behind pulling these resources together. And that is Asma Mirza, our Chief Performance Officer. Asma is unshakable in a crisis. Look, when the Key Bridge collapsed, she led the charge to get timely resources to the affected communities. And now she's bringing that same focus and determination to this effort. And then I also want to recognize Secretary Wu with the Department of Labor, a true leader, ensuring our systems are not only efficient, but compassionate and accessible. Secretary Wu and Team Labor are always at the ready, meeting the moment, solving problems, and putting people first. And let me also thank the entire Moore Miller team for showing up every day with heart, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the people of Maryland. And to all of you as our faith leaders, thank you again for being here and for the love and leadership you bring each and every single day. Now, I believe I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Wu. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Lieutenant Governor, and it's a pleasure to be here today to speak with all the leaders on the call. As the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, I'm Portia Wu with the Maryland Department of Labor, and of course, we are here to serve. We're here to serve our fellow Marylanders and everyone affected by everything that's happening at the federal level. My understanding is there may be some slides that are teed up, so I'm going to talk through these. I'll first be talking through some of the impacts. I know you're all feeling this in the communities. I'm going to talk about some numbers, but honestly, we know behind all these numbers, or really in front of them, are people, right? These are our friends, our neighbors, our family members, and we're hearing from them every day. We know that you are as well. We wanted to provide this bigger context and information, first about the impacts overall in the state, and then about resources, and then to provide whatever information, answer whatever questions we can for you. So I'll quickly go through a couple of these slides. Next slide, please. So this just gives a sense of the distribution. I think we all know that Maryland is very closely tied to the federal government. We are the jurisdiction with the second highest concentration of federal workers in the country outside of Washington, D.C., which of course is just in our backyard. So it does mean any impacts on federal workforce have a huge impact for Maryland. There are about 160,000 federal civilian jobs located in Maryland. And on the next slide, you'll see that by place of residence. So we have about 270,000 Marylanders who work in federal civilian jobs with the government, but are living in the state. Some people ask, well, so how is that broken down in terms of agencies, which we'll see on the next slide? It's a range of different agencies, but the top agency, actually, it's our defense jobs. That includes civilian employment in the armed services. So I think in the past, some of the defense agencies have been maybe a little bit more cushioned or immune from some of the reductions we are seeing in this case. There are significant reductions being proposed there as well. And so we all know for Maryland, there's direct federal employment. But as you'll see on the next slide, the contractor community, of course, is a very important part of the equation as well. And so, they're very significant federal contract dollars invested across our state. And any change to this has other impacts on employment. We're already seeing that, for example, with some of the USAID contracts. Many of our institutions are grantees as well. And so our state institutions, our large research institutions, any changes to research grants, federal contract dollars can all make a huge difference. Following the patterns we noticed, if you see the next slide, this gives you a sense of how those contract dollars break out across different kinds of services. Again, defense being the largest portion of Maryland, but a very significant piece on human services. And then I'll say the last slide I'm going to touch on at this part of the presentation is just additional resources. If you are getting questions about data, we are getting a lot of questions about that. We've posted some of the pieces of information, as well as some information about how things are looking from the unemployment insurance perspective. But I'm first going to turn it back now to our Chief Performance Officer, Asma Mirza.
Thank you so much, Secretary Wu, and thank you for everything your incredible department is doing in this moment, kind of leading at the forefront to support workers here in Maryland. Thanks so much to everyone who joined this call. For folks who don't know me, I'm Asma Mirza as the LG, and Secretary said I'm the Chief Performance Officer for the state. Before this job, I was the Chief of Staff for the White House COVID-19 response team. And in that job, I saw firsthand how much faith leaders can really impact people in crisis. And they were so critical to the work that we're doing there. And so we're really grateful to many of you who we know and we hear every day from workers and contractors who are affected, that you are on the front lines helping to support both the soul and the day-to-day needs of all of these folks who are affected. As Secretary Wu said, she walked through some of the data of who could potentially be impacted in the state. We do know that a lot of probationary workers have already been impacted in the state. There are about 10,000 of those in Maryland. And there are over 1,000 federal workers who have already applied for uninsurance in the state. But we expect that number to grow as we see more layoffs and actions happening by the federal government. So on the next slide, we have laid out a few actions that Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller are taking to support federal workers in this moment. And so on the next slide, we'll talk through what those 5 actions are. The first of which is a website that is listed here in your chat that has a comprehensive set of resources for federal workers in this moment. And I think if we can switch to the next slide, thank you. That website has already gotten about 100,000 unique visitors and 150,000 total views from people in Maryland, just underscoring how big the need is. And there are 7 different sections of the website that you can go to and click in or share with members of your communities who need help. The first is how to apply for unemployment insurance, which Secretary will talk about more later on. The second bucket is around career transition support and job opportunities. This links to both public sector opportunities as well as over 130,000 open job postings here in the state and the private sector, as well as some of the health organizations. The third bucket is around health coverage. How can people help get health coverage support if they lose their job? The fourth is around housing services, including for those people who are worried about being evicted or who are currently homeless and looking for support. The fifth is resources specifically for veterans. So this includes some outside support and funding. The sixth is around cash and other assistance, including our unified benefits screener, which helps people with one form on their phone in less than 5 minutes, see if there are any programs that help put cash in their pocket to help with food and other supports immediately. And the last is for those who are still working to fight their firing or their RIF notice. What are some legal resources that folks have stood up to be helpful in this moment? You'll see on the right-hand side an example of if you were to click into that second bucket around career transitions and support, what that might look like. So if we go back to the previous page, that's the first, is that we have this central response website. We are updating it constantly with resources as they come up. Even today, we were working with our digital team to add another resource to it. So please see that and visit it. We'll be sending around a PDF version with some of those links that are a one-pager that you can share with your members of your community who need help and support. The second is that we are working to connect federal workers who want a second career in education. We have a shortage of over 1,600 teachers here in the state of Maryland. And we are working on a new initiative called Feds to Eds. The governor directed about 2 months ago his Department of Education and Higher Education Commission to come up with a plan to how to make that transition as easy as possible for those who are interested in continuing their public service in a new way. And they've completed that plan, and they're in process of launching a recruitment campaign specifically tailored to former federal employees and contractors to think about how to make that transition, new and better ways to do the certification process, and ways to continue the education process for those who make the transition. Third is that we are moving in partnership with local and county leaders to conduct a series of hiring fairs. You heard the Lieutenant Governor speak a little bit about this, and our Secretary Wu will talk a little bit more about this later on as well. But I know that she's been to a hiring fair at a church in Baltimore. Many of you I know are hosting these events. If you are hosting one, I know that the Department of Labor and other departments have been out at those events to provide resources and supports. And so please feel free to reach out to Secretary Hargrove or any of us to see if there is a presence that could be had there to make sure we're connecting people with resources. And the fourth and fifth is that the governor directed his agencies to expedite the hiring process for state jobs and to make sure that we are helping people get into those state jobs so that we can help get these talented folks into public service at the state and local level. So on that website that I shared earlier, there is a link to Civic Match, which is our partner that is creating a resume database that is allowing us to look at the amazing talent that's available and how we can hire them into state jobs. We also last Friday just posted a new set of jobs that are critical but hard to fill in the state: HR, procurement, IT. and having one place where folks can post to those jobs and then get hired within weeks, not months, across multiple different agencies. And so that's also available on our website. So those are the 5 things that we're currently doing. Let me turn it back over and move the slides forward 2 slides to Secretary Wu to talk a little bit more specifically about some of the supports that we have.
Thank you so much, Asma. And as the resource page that Asma highlighted before, we recognize that job search and helping people with economic assistance is only one piece of the picture. And so much of the work that you do supporting people in community is trying to support the whole person. And I also want to say I've been to job fairs at other churches, Frederick County, Prince George's County. We've been working with many institutions of faith across the state, and we're always happy to go to something. If you'd like the Department of Labor team to be there, we will find a way to be there to help serve your community on the ground. So just a couple of facts I wanted to highlight here, because I'm sure you're getting a lot of these questions, is federal workers can be eligible for unemployment insurance. But we know that the way these job losses has happened has been anything but in the normal course of business. And so we really encourage people to go to the link on this page. We're constantly updating the frequently asked questions because we get a lot of specific cases of, I was on probation, I lost my job, now I'm back, now I'm off again, I was placed on leave, what do I do? Some key things for people to understand is people should file for unemployment in the place where they work, not where they live. So if you say have a parishioner who works in DC and lives in your district in Maryland, that means they should be applying in DC. People need to actually lose their job before they can apply for unemployment insurance. So just being placed on paid leave is not enough. There are lots of questions like that. They're very confusing for people. So we have those and we're constantly updating them on our website. If you're hearing of some questions that you don't know how to answer, please let us know, because that means if you're hearing it, 1,000 other people have the same question, and we want to make sure to respond to those questions. On the next page, I will say we've had about 1,200 people who have filed for federal unemployment so far. We know there are far more out there. So we want to get those resources and information out there as soon as we can. Another thing we're doing is supporting individuals who are looking for reemployment. So first of all, I will say, and this is very closely in partnership with our 13 workforce local boards around the state, we have a weekly virtual workshop we've been doing for federal workers and federal contractors. Over 900 people have attended it, as you can see. There's the email link. It's 3 hours, which seems long, but actually people have lots of questions. And it's really about, how do I prepare myself maybe for a job in the state or a different sector? For a lot of people, it's just a part of a mental process of trying to come to grips with things as they are changing. So we found it to be very successful for that. And of course, excuse me, there are often people want to just sit and talk with someone in person. And I just want to remind everyone that we do have 33 American Job Centers around the state. We have a specialized professional outplacement assistance center as well. It's where people can go in person to get help on their resume, to talk through what options might be out there, practice doing interviews. For a lot of people, perhaps they haven't looked for a job for a while. And we're there in person to provide those resources as well as online. And I think that there we go. The next slide, this is just a sampling. We're keeping a regular updated list on our website, not only about the resources, but about upcoming events. And here are just a couple of examples of some of the upcoming job fairs, as well as the resources that Asma referred to earlier about other initiatives the state has going forward. And I think the last slide is the next one. There we go. Oh, there we are. There we were. Out in the community, talking with people in different locations around the state about how we can best provide help. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Please let us know how we can best serve you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Wu. So we want to be able to give you the opportunity, if you've got questions for Secretary Wu, if you have questions for Asma in terms of the federal outreach, and you need something clarified for you, now is the time to do that. We ask that you would put the questions in the chat and we will direct them to the appropriate individual. And certainly if it's a faith question, I will do my best to answer that. So I'm going to give you a second to formulate your questions to put in the chat. But while you are doing that, Secretary Wu, there was someone that asked whether or not the slides would be available for public consumption. I thought I saw something down at the bottom of one of them that said it was not. Can you just give us a little clarification on that?
Yeah, I'll have to double check. I think a lot of this information is actually available on our website already, and we can provide those links. Yes, we're happy to make sure that people have this information.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get that clarified. And Asma, in terms of your slides, are they available for consumption by participants?
Yeah, that should be fine. Why don't we work with you, Dr. Hargrove, and Secretary Wu to put together like a package of information, and we can email that out to everyone afterwards.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're looking for questions or concerns, or if you need a clarification on any piece of what you have heard today, we certainly want you to be able to get your questions answered. So if you put them in the chat, we will get to them. Okay. So one person is asking if there was one flyer we can share with the communities. What would you want us to share? I'm going to actually ask maybe both Secretary Wu and Asma to maybe answer that.
I'm happy to start. I think the central website is a good email to send, website to send around, because it links to all the other links that you've seen on this call today. I'll repost that in the chat, Adila, so that you have that. And then we'll also send around a flyer version of the website with each of the links. So if you wanted to print something out and hand it to folks, you could do that. Does that sound okay to you, Secretary Wu?
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. And we've got a link right here. Someone else is asking, can we share the link right away? I'm assuming that you mean the links that have already been posted. If you mean something different, Ping Lu, let me know. I believe they can all be shared.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat. The link is
That's right, Ping Lu. Any of the links that you have in the chat are currently live websites, so you can go ahead and share those immediately.
And Dr. Hargrove, I would also like to add to the individuals that are here on the Zoom call that the governor has also taken a lead when it comes to immigration services. We have a director for the first time in Maryland's history who is leading the effort on immigration services at the state level. And his name is Kamal Isab. And we are happy. I think he may be joining us at the end of our program. So maybe he can talk a little bit about, the challenges immigrant communities are facing right now and what the state can do to assist in these moments.
Okay, thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much, Lieutenant Governor. I think Kamal may not be able to be here yet, but Travis Nelson from our team is on. So if there are any questions about immigration, Travis is happy to field those as well.
Thank you, Asma.
Thank you. Anyone else? While we're waiting for other questions, Travis, are you able just to give our participants a sort of an overview of where we are with our immigration issues and where folks can go if they are having concerns or problems in that area?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm going to do my best to channel my inner Kamal, but I am no Kamal. I can certainly tell you that he is definitely a valuable member of the team when it comes to this. I think the biggest thing I just want to emphasize is really around, I know a lot of people have been watching the case around Mr. Garcia and the El Salvador, holding him still, and that's brought Maryland into a lot of unwanted attention in this area. But the biggest thing I just want to emphasize is that make sure that you offer that support and that communication line to make sure that your congregations feel confident in reaching out to you. We do have a variety of resources that we can share with you. rather than read them off. I know that we've got some online resources that can become available. But in looking at what we are focusing mostly on is making sure that enforcement is done fairly, and focusing on the violent criminals that we are committed to getting off of our streets, but not unfairly targeting community members that have been here for an amount of time and are very valuable parts of our community. And that's what we're going to continue to stand up for and evaluate. We do have a really good working relationship with our federal authorities, so I don't want anyone to have the impression that it is us against federal agents. It's certainly not the case. We have open lines of communication with them, so that way, if there is something that is brought to our attention that doesn't seem like it was done properly, we immediately pick up the phone and we call and we try to find out more information. With that being said, we obviously, unfortunately, can't take the place of private counsel or lawyers or things of that nature. But we want to be strong advocates for your communities as much as possible. So certainly, if they see something that didn't seem fairly done, I will bring to the attention of this group is that we are aware that there have been federal task forces that are doing home visits and certain unaccompanied minors, people essentially unaccompanied minors that came into the country maybe several years ago or so forth, and federal agents are doing home checks. We know that is extremely alarming and has caused a lot of fear within the community. And legally, they have the ability to do those checks. It's just I would be sure that without providing you with legal advice to pass through to your congregations, is to just best educate your congregation, your members of your community into what the federal agents should have when they show up at their residence, whether it's in the terms of a warrant or whether it's in terms of they're just doing some questioning, or if they are truly doing visa checks for someone that's in the residence and things of that nature. So understand that we are aware that those home checks are occurring. They're going to continue to occur to our knowledge right now. And the state and local officials are not participating in those. Immigration is 100% a federal responsibility, immigration enforcement. So although we will continue to work with them to get violent criminals off of our streets and the best way possible, and to dismantle actual violent gang members and violent gangs that are really causing a lot of destruction within our immigrant communities. We are going to try to continue to work in that effort while protecting the sanctity of the good, hardworking community members that are just extremely valuable to our society here in Maryland and keep things moving forward. So I don't want to take any more time than that, but just whatever we can do to assist, we will. Just know it is really challenging sometimes to not provide legal advice, because we unfortunately can't defend anyone in court, but we want to give you the resources that you can pass through, so that way they are as well armed as possible if they're put in a situation. Thanks, Esma. Appreciate the time. And Lieutenant
Thank you,
Governor.
Travis. Appreciate you. Before you go too far away from us, I also do want to just mention that the Lieutenant Governor previously put out on her website, and we did the same with the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives, some links to actual faith organizations, the United Methodist Church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and others who have created fact sheets that give information about knowing your rights. And some of them do have information as it relates to obtaining legal services. What we can do is pull that information together for you and resubmit it, Lieutenant Governor, if that's all right with you, if we send that back out again to this group specifically. We're more than happy to do that. But Travis, we do appreciate you stepping in the gap here. And certainly if there are issues or questions that you specifically have for our Director of Immigrant Affairs who was not able to be on the call, please let us know, and we certainly will get those questions to Kamal, and I'm sure that he will be able to answer what you have. Make sure that you check the chat. Brandon just put in the most recent newsletter that has the immigration enforcement clarity listed. And we will also make sure that what we send out to you after this call has that information in it as well. That being said, anyone else have any other questions, comments, or concerns that you'd like to raise while we're here together? You've got a plethora of resources at your fingertips, and I certainly want you to be able to take advantage of each person that we have been able to bring together for this call. So we'll give just a few more minutes for you to pop your questions in the chat. Okay, if there are none, I certainly want to ask Secretary Wu, Asma, Chief Asma, if you have any further comments before we turn this back over to our Lieutenant Governor to close us out.
No, just thank you for everything folks are doing. If folks do have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Dr. Hargrove. We'll make sure we get them to the right agency. As Secretary Wu eloquently said, we deeply appreciate the work you all are doing to take care of the whole person in this moment, and we're here to be your partners in that work. Secretary Wu?
Thank you, Asma, and thank you for having us here as laborers. I just want to underscore, there are a lot of questions, a lot of moving pieces right now, and people may be frustrated or frightened if they haven't heard back from us. We're doing our very best to respond, but appreciate your patience. And of course, please feel free to reach out to us if you are seeing recurring issues. Again, we want to serve everyone. We know the numbers of people seeking help may increase significantly in the coming weeks and months. And so we appreciate your patience and understanding, but look forward to partnering with you as closely as we can.
Thank you, Secretary Wu. Thank you, Asma. Lieutenant Governor, the floor is back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hargrove, to Asma, as well as Secretary Wu and Travis for the information that you shared with our community here. And to every one of you, you heard from our team. We are here available to you and whatever we can do to assist you. Look, providing services for the people of Maryland is not a solo effort. It requires all of us to come together, to hold hands, to support one another. And we are going to get through this. I know these moments are very challenging. It's frightening, it's scary, but know that the power of our faith and the power of our community can help us navigate through these challenging times. So at any time we can offer any assistance, never ever hesitate to reach out to us. And I want to let you know that the Interfaith Council, many of the members are on this Zoom call, but you can reach out to them as well. And when we have future meetings with the Interfaith Council, I welcome all of you to join in and listen in so you can hear the type of work that we are doing together collectively and share it with your communities as well. So, once again, I want to say on behalf of Governor Moore, myself, and the entire Moore-Miller administration, including our faith leaders on the Interfaith Council, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to care about your community, to take the time to listen to the resources that's available that we can afford to all of you, and to dismantle it and share it with, with others as well. So, again, we really are looking forward to working together, not just through this moment, but through every single moment that's ahead of us in the future. Know that we are here for you. Thank you.